Things are picking up in the Edmonton housing market, and today we're going to be looking at the March 2024 housing market update for the Edmonton real estate market. There's been lots of changes in the last month, and we're going to look at each part of the market, including the market as a whole. We're going to look at detached homes, townhouses, apartments, and even half duplexes, and we'll also be looking at what's been happening with prices for each one of these market segments. So let's get started with the first one. All right, let's look at the market as a whole, which is total residential. So for total residential, we're sitting in the middle of a balanced market with a listing absorption rate of 43.02%. That's an increase of over 10% from last month when it was sitting at 32.78%. So we went from just barely into a balanced market to more than halfway through a balanced market and working, getting closer to a seller's market. This is the market as a whole, so it's the most general piece of information, and it's actually going to be the least applicable to the specific properties that you're looking at. So make sure you pay attention to the other more specific areas. But yeah, the market's definitely been picking up. Average price for the market as a whole was sitting at $381,544. And in terms of inventory, at the end of February, there was 3,266 active listings, and there had been 1,405 sales. So the number of listings are up 1.18% from last month, but still down from last year. So it's down 20.3% from last year. And the sales are up substantially from last month. They're up 32.8% from January and up 54.9% from February of last year. So that's a pretty big shift in the market. Anybody that's been active in the market definitely would have felt it. As an agent in the last few weeks, something definitely changed. Average days on market was sitting at 49 days versus 59 days last month. So we shaved 10 days off on average, and it was sitting at 57 days last year. So doing a lot better than last month and quite a bit better than last year as well. All right, now let's look at detached homes. So detached homes are sitting in an absorption rate of 44.11%, which is pretty similar to the market as a whole, but getting closer to a seller's market overall. Last month, it was sitting at 35.3%, so a good uptick there, and a lot different than last year when the absorption rate was just over 18%. So big change compared to market conditions last year. Average price for a detached home was sitting at $495,335. At the end of February, there were 1,707 active listings, and there were 753 sales in February. So inventory's barely changed. It's up 0.71% from January, still down 32.21% from inventory levels last year. And the sales are up 25.7% from January and up 64.4% from February of last year. So big swing in the market here, definitely seeing things pick up. Average days on market was sitting at 46 days versus 59 days last month, so shaved 13 days off the average days on market, and it was 54 days the same time last year. Now, I'm definitely seeing in some pockets of the single family detached market where we're actually moving into seller's market conditions. This takes everything, and there's gonna be some neighborhoods or ages of properties that it's gonna be a little bit different, but I'm seeing multiple offers happen quite often on well-priced detached homes under 500K kind of thing. So the market's definitely picked up in terms of demand, and there hasn't been enough new listings yet to keep up with the demand. So that's why the balance of the market has shifted closer to a seller's market. When I just did a quick spot check looking at detached homes in Edmonton yesterday versus how many had sold in the last 30 days, I was seeing us coming in at 1.9 months of inventory, which is even a higher absorption rate than what I'm seeing here in the stats overall. I looked at the numbers a little bit different because I took pending properties out of that, whereas this would include all of them. So that's kind of what's been going on in the detached market. Let's look at the benchmark prices for detached homes. So we're looking at the home price index for detached homes in Edmonton and what that's been doing over the last year. If you want to see what it's been doing in the last 14 or 15 years, go look at my February market update video, and I actually look at the prices over the last 15 years. But right now we're just going to focus on what's been happening in the last year, essentially. So I've got this broken up into 1-story detached homes and 2-story detached homes. So for 2-story detached homes, in January 2024, the benchmark price was sitting at $482,600, and it's jumped up to $490,900. So, you know, about an $8,000 increase in the last month on the benchmark price. And for 1-story single family, it's gone from $375,400 to $387,300. So we're seeing more than a $10,000 increase for one-story single-family homes. As you can see, if you look just over the course of the last year, prices have been relatively stable. There hasn't been any big swings in the last year, but just in this last month, that is a steeper incline than what went on for most of last year. I'll continue with the next market segment shortly, but I want to give you an opportunity to let you know how I can help you if you're buying or selling a home in the Edmonton area. If you'd like to request more information about my services, feel free to reach out to me at 780-819-5508 or email me at trevor@trevortardif.com. Or if you'd like to jump straight into a free consultation call, ask me anything you want about buying or selling real estate in Edmonton, whether it's for yourself, investment property, for someone else, I have no problem talking to you. You can go to booktrevornow.com. You can select a time on my calendar, and then we'll do a 30-minute free consultation call. All right, let's continue. All right, let's talk about semi-detached homes. So this is basically going to include half duplexes, and these have actually moved into the early stages of a seller's market with an absorption rate sitting at 51%. My infographic is a little screwed up here for January. I'm not sure what happened, but that number is wrong, but it's still an increase from whatever it was last year. I have to go look at the old infographic, but definitely seeing seller's market conditions here now. Average price was sitting at $389,358. At the end of February, there was 251 active listings and there had been 128 sales. Again, some of my infographics are screwed up here, so we won't really dive into that since it's kind of moved around on us, but it's a pretty small market. So just seeing that there was 251 active listings and 128 sales, all it takes is an extra 20 or 30 sales and you start to see pretty big swings in the balance of the market since there's not a ton of inventory to begin with and it is a smaller segment of the market. That's why we're seeing such a big change in a short period of time. Of course, that's just current market conditions we're talking about right now. As we get further into spring, it's certainly possible that we'll get more new listings that will keep pace or potentially outpace demand. That's not really what I'm expecting at this point, but anything is possible. All we can really talk about is what current market conditions are. Average days on market for this type of property was 42 days versus 51 days last month, and it was 55 days the same time last year. Now, we don't have benchmark data for this type of property because it's not common enough essentially for them to track it. So we'll have to skip that and move on to the next property type. All right, let's talk row houses and townhouses. So this includes townhouse condos and row houses, what we call residential attached, which don't have condo fees, but they're still a lot like a townhouse. This market has been getting really hot in the last month. We pushed up into a strong seller's market with an absorption rate of 69.82%. So we're well into a seller's market for this market segment. It was already strong the month before with a 45% absorption rate, getting close to a seller's market, but it got pushed over the edge quite far in the last month here. Average price for this property type was sitting at $271,576, and there was 328 active listings at the end of the month, and there had been 229 sales. So the active listings are down 5.75% from January, and the sales are up 45.86% from last month and up 52.67% from last year. So we saw a big uptick in sales, and the inventory is dropping basically because the sales have picked up so much. Average days on market was sitting at 43 days versus 54 days last month and 60 days last year. So this market is super hot right now. Now let's take a look at the home price index benchmark prices for townhouses. For townhouses in January 2024, the benchmark price was $233,100, and that jumped up to $238,700. So about a $5,500 increase in 1 month. You can see that this performance over the last year is quite a bit different than the rest of the market. In February 2023, a year ago, the benchmark price was $212,000. So we've had a decent lift in townhouse benchmark prices just in the last year. And if these market conditions continue, where inventory continues to stay tight and buyer demand stays strong, I wouldn't be surprised if we see further increases in prices for townhouses and row houses. All right, let's talk apartment condos now. This market has also seen a substantial shift. It's now sitting at a 30.1% absorption rate. So it's just barely getting into balanced market territory. This is still an impressive change for the apartment condo market. Since last month, it was sitting at 21.22%, over 8% increase in the absorption rate. And last February, it was all the way down at 13%. So market conditions are much more robust this year for apartment condos. It's still, you know, on the edge between a buyer's market and a balanced market, but moved a good way into the balanced market territory. Average price for apartment condos was sitting at $173,064, and there was 980 active listings at the end of February and 295 sales. So the active listings are up a bit. They're up 2.94% from January. They're down just over 35% from last year. And the sales went up 46% from January, and they're up 48.99% from February last year. So that shows you what caused the balance change. It was not a lot of new listing activity. It was actually more buyer demand. And that's what can really change things in our market here. Average days on market was sitting at 61 days versus 67 days last month. So it did have a slight dip there. Still takes a while to sell apartment condos, as you can see. And it was 64 days last year. So let's look at the benchmark prices for apartment condos. Okay, now the apartment condo prices actually look somewhat similar to what's been happening with townhouses in the last year, where it's not quite as stable. It has moved around on us. There's not a huge difference in prices here since we're only looking at 1 year, but it is still zigzaggy, but making its way to the up and to the right. In January 2024, the benchmark price was $175,200, and it went up to $176,700. So, you know, modest gain. In February 2023, a year ago, it was sitting at $168,700. So we're up about $8,000, if I'm doing my math right, over the course of the last year, which for a lot of apartment condo owners out there, that's welcome news. It'll be interesting to see if demand for apartment condos continues to pick up. A lot of people have been calling for a shift in that market for the last few years now, and the rest of the market might be getting hot enough where we start to see more people move into apartment condos. So I'm excited to see how that plays out for the rest of the year. All right, that's it for the Edmonton housing market update for March 2024. I hope you got value out of this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.